Sorry for running a little bit late. So we're going to start talking about how to catch a kin. If anyone should have any questions, you can go to my Facebook and ask the questions there while I'm live. It's www.facebook.com/money, love, success, COM right after. How to catch a kitten is something that I think is very important because a lot of guys, especially with Valentine's Day coming up, they're considering, well, why is it that all these losers are, all these loser, horrible men are getting these hot women, and why are the good guys being left alone? So I'm going to give a couple of tricks that I think could work on landing that girl so that you're not alone for Valentine's Day, and as well as landing a girl just so you're not alone at all on a Saturday night. So we're going to start off how to properly go ahead and introduce yourself to a girl. One of the things that people think that you need to have a pickup line when introducing yourself to someone, and that is completely wrong. When men have a tendency of picking up women and starting it off with a pickup line, she becomes immediately defensive. And she doesn't want to have the conversation. She finds a way to get out of the conversation and move on to the next thing. So my advice is, if you're going to a coffee shop, you're going to a restaurant, you're at the airport, which is perfect right now because there's a lot of flights delayed and being canceled. So right now, that would probably be the perfect place to pick up a girl. The best way to start off is with simple hellos. Make it generic, like you're asking a question about where you're at. What type of restaurant you're in, so it's general. So a girl can't be rude. She has to basically answer those questions that you're needing. Typically, that opens the ice for you to breaks the ice for you so that you can go to the next position, which is getting into a more in-depth conversation where she feels more comfortable with you. One of the best pickups that I ever had, which I still remember to this day, is literally being in an airport, my flight being delayed, and a guy just asking me how long the flight's delayed, and next thing you know, it led into a massive conversation while we were at the airport, while we were on the plane, and I gave him my number right after. Before I continue, just want to make sure any questions you have, easily just go ahead and start posting them, and I'll respond to them as we're going through one by one. Hold on, give me 1 minute. Technical issues here. They're just fixing something. I apologize. So when you're picking someone up, one is better to never try. To always be, like, if the girl's not as important for some reason, most women are more drawn to the guy who isn't giving them the attention and the love and everything else that they want, and it makes them concerned what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And at that point, the girls will sit there and start flirting with you and start having a situation with you where now they're the ones chasing you instead of you chasing them. So some of the little tricks that I wanted to discuss that are in my books is the different locations to pick up women. If you're at a beach, and yes, there are places in the U.S. that are warm right now, but if you're at a beach, the best way to pick up a girl there is if they're playing volleyball. If they're playing volleyball and you're like, oh my God, I'm really intrigued by what's going on, instead of going and coming on to a girl flirting with her, be like, hey, do you mind if I join the game? As you're joining the game, most people will say yes because we always need new players in the game. Then you start conversing with them and having a more comfortable situation where you can go to the next level of getting her phone number and asking her out. If you're at a coffee shop, at a Starbucks, and you're basically about to order your coffee, and that line you walk in is 20 people's in, which is completely normal, it would be, instead of coming on to a girl and saying, oh my God, you're absolutely beautiful, just come on to her and just be like, hey, do you know how long this line has been? I just wanted to see how long my wait is. And usually the girl's bored out of her mind standing in that line for 15 minutes, so she's going to be more enticed and intrigued to continue conversation. So the best pickups is when you're not trying to pick up the girl, which is why a lot of these jerks get the girls that you want. because they ignore them. They treat the girls a little bit standoffish, like they don't really matter, and the girls are drawn more to them. Another thing is people believe that every guy has to have this beautiful, absolutely amazing look, which isn't true at all. A lot of guys, to me, I'm not attracted into the pretty boys per se. I'm attracted to someone who is intellectually smart, who is absolutely funny, and who dresses well and is well kept and makes me believe that he's more the type of guy I'm looking for. So I'm going to go into what you should look like. If you're sitting around in extremely baggy jeans and shirts that don't fit into your actual body type, and you're walking around with shoes that are like 5 years old, completely beat up, where some people have to put tape, of course you're not going to get the attention from the girl you really, really want, because you're not trying to make her believe that you're someone that's well put together. Girls pay attention to watches, they pay attention to shoes, they pay attention to clothes, they pay attention to how confident you are walking into a room. So if you're bald doing the side swoop, that doesn't help, because that just shows you're not confident with who you are. So you got to create this fake piece of hair over your head, work the baldness, be comfortable with it. I know plenty of guys who are bald who pick up very beautiful women because they're confident and they're comfortable, and they said, you know what, I'm just going to shave my entire head. Grooming is important, making sure that you're shaved, making sure that you basically shower, because I know some guys will go ahead and hit on a girl right after a gym and say, oh, I'm hitting on a girl right after a gym, it's okay. No, it's not okay. A girl does not want a guy with smells and funk talking to them. So unless you're physically in the gym working out, which at that time most girls don't want to be picked up, you should not look like you just started sweating up a storm from running a 5-mile run. Another thing is, a lot of people think with looking good clothing-wise means that you need to wear high-end, expensive clothing. That's not necessarily true. What's important is getting the clothing to basically be tailored fit. That means you can go and buy something from a regular store, take it to a good tailor, and shorten up the length of the pants so they're not so baggy. You can go ahead and make sure that the shirt is a little bit more fitted towards your waistline so that it can show that you're not with a big old bare belly and things like that, which I find extremely, extremely important. I know a few questions to me in the past have been, Shy, you always say that when you ignore a woman and you don't give her the time of day and you basically act like she's nothing, how can you build a relationship that way? Every relationship, when they start off very simple. First is attraction. Secondary to attraction is personality. And then if those things go extremely well, that will determine if you're going to end up in a relationship with this person anyway. The thing is, all women say that they want this very sweet, nice, kind, loving man to give them the world. But in reality, we always go for the jerks that don't give us attention and don't care about us. And the reason why is no different than a man. We like the thrill, we like the game, we like the challenge. We like to know that it wasn't so easily accessible. So when I tell you throughout my book to treat a girl like crap, I don't mean sit there and be derogatory with her and say she's nothing. I'm just saying basically don't make her feel like she's the most important thing in the world and that she can be your goddess and you're going to pamper her. Because if she knows that, she feels that she has you wrapped around your finger, and within 2 seconds you're going to absolutely lose her anyway, because she's going to treat you like garbage and say, I already have this guy. I got him taken care of. It's not a big deal. So little tricks of manipulating a woman, and it was some of the stuff that was done to me was, if I would go to a guy and be like, oh, do you like my hair, do you like the way I look today? And most guys will have a tendency, if they think that the girl's beautiful, it's like, you look absolutely beautiful, sweetheart, you look great. Well, that's just building up the girl's confidence 100%, where she feels that you're all about her. Instead, it would be more important to discuss with her and be like, oh, your hair absolutely looks adorable, and you look very pretty when you wear it that particular way. Why is that important? Because the girl, what she'll do is, in her mindset, she's going to be like, well, he thinks I look pretty when my hair is this way. Does that mean I don't look pretty when my hair is another way? Does that mean I'm not up to par all the time? And that puts the women in slight concern. And it makes them wonder, and it makes them try harder so that they can get a better, nicer compliment from their guy. A guy, one of the things I remember my girlfriend having a problem with was she would always complain that she wasn't up to par in weight. And of course, we know that the weight situation is a very tricky line that you don't really pass. The tricky line is, what do you do when someone says, do you think my weight level is good? Well, if you tell a girl you're amazing, she's going to think that you're lying to her because you're trying to make her feel better. You tell her, yeah, sweetheart, you're a little bit like 10 pounds too chunky. I'm sorry, you got to lose weight. You're going to hurt her feelings. What you do is you hear the conversations that she has prior. One of the things that I do is I'll sit there and say, I'm really trying to lose weight. I'm really trying to make sure that I'm up to par, and I'm working out, and I feel a little bit chunky. And a guy, when I ask my friends that are guys, or even my own husband, and I'm at a dinner table and I'm about to order that big piece of cake, he goes, didn't you just tell me you were trying to lose weight? So in other words, he's not saying that I'm fat. I can't get angry with him, because if I respond saying, oh, you think I'm fat? The response is, no, you've been complaining to me about your weight and asked me to watch what you're eating. And of course, my insecurities come in, and all women's insecurities come in. Does he think we're fat? Does he like the way I look? Is he telling me not to eat that piece of cake because I can't afford the extra pounds? And in reality, he's not saying any of those things. He just made a comment based on what the girl said. It brings her insecurities levels a little bit to the top, where then she's going to try harder consistently to get what she wants, which is your attention and your love. And those are kind of some of the tricks that you can do in manipulation. Someone will go ahead and discuss, hey, honey, do I look good in this outfit? Yeah, you look okay, Or am I the hottest girl you've ever seen? Like, I've dated prettier girls. Not that the girl in front of you isn't pretty. It's just, if you tell her she's pretty, she's like, oh, I know I'm pretty, thank you. And it's going to be easy for her to basically use your sexuality to screw you over, think that you're getting what you want, and then she's going to be over with you in 2 seconds. I want to see if there's any questions real quick, so that way I am not ignoring anyone, so give me 1 second.
Yeah, refresh my page. Maybe every once in a while, tell them, remind them to go there.
Okay. So if you guys have any questions, because because I know that we're live and we can't hear, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Don't forget to go to that Facebook page and put your comments up there so that I can go ahead and give you direct advice. I want to discuss something that I thought was important. When I was in Vegas, I did a 1-hour live seminar, and I was discussing little tactics in my books of manipulation that was done, because women have a tendency of course, I'm going to keep repeating this, saying they want one thing, but they totally go after something different. So one of the guys who read the book, which he told me it took him about 2.5 hours to read it while we were in Vegas during the Adult Entertainment Convention. He read the book, and he said right after that he went and he walked around and he went to a couple of clubs, and it was the first time in his entire life that a girl actually gave him attention and that he felt he controlled the floor. And I asked him, what is it in the book that you actually used that was actually beneficial? And he says, well, I used 2 tactics in the book. And I was like, what are those tactics? And he goes, 1, you gave a portion of the book that tells you when you're confronting a group of girls how to figure out what each role of that girl is. And in the book, it does explain a lot regarding the roles of women when they go out in groups. There's the blocker, there's the hot girl, there's the conservative girl, there's the spunky girl. All those girls have a set role in going out, and typically most men have a tendency of going after the hot girl who's already aggravated from being, talked to by like another 50 guys. I always tell people that the biggest and most important thing is to always go after the blocker first. The blocker is the one that once you get past and she truly, truly, truly likes you, she will let you within her circle to speak to the rest of the girls. Or if you don't want to go after the blocker, go after the quiet girl, because the quiet girl is going to be too scared to send you away, and she's going to be polite and respectable and sweet. And she's not going to want to push you off. And as long as you're respectable in that conversation, the blocker's not going to kick you away either. She's going to see that the quiet girl is comfortable, and she's going to let the conversation continue. But he used those tactics, and for the first time, he was able to determine who the blocker was, who the hot girl was, who the quiet girl was, and he actually ended up going for the blocker. And when he went for the blocker, he used some of my manipulation tactics to make her a little bit insecure with who she was, but not to the point where she would get upset. He basically used it in a way to manipulate her to go ahead and make her feel, yeah, you're hot, yeah, I could want you, but I'm not sure that you're the right person for me. And she wanted to know why, and it kept enticing more and more conversation. And then he tells me by the end of the night, it was 2-3 hours in, they had drinks, they switched numbers, and she said it was the first time a person called her out on her crap, but in a respectable way. And she actually had a girl that she thought would be perfect for the guy. And I just got a call from him yesterday, and he actually just went on his blind date, which hopefully by now he's probably getting more, but he says the blind date is set scheduled for this upcoming Friday, and he's looking forward to it because for the first time he feels like he's in control, and it's not the women in control. And that's the thing. When looking for that perfect girl, whether it's a girl that you're just going to sleep with for one night, or the girl you're going to date, or the girl you're going to marry, is to learn who has the control in that relationship. Because as long as you give that power and that control for that girl to believe that she's everything, she's going to manipulate you and treat you like garbage, and then she's going to be like, oh, he's too nice, I can walk all over him, he's not good enough. It's important to be nice, it's important to be respectful, but it's important not to be too nice, not too giving, and not too wanting to basically treat these women like queens until you know you have her locked down and she's completely in love with you. Then you show her the other side and saying, look, now that we're together, now that we're in love, these are the things that I can show you about me. And then that way, when you're loving, it's for someone that's worthwhile at the end of the day. So those are little tactics that I think work very well. Now, Valentine's Day is coming up very soon, and people are wondering, what in the world do I do to outdo myself from last year? I don't want to spend a ton of money on these expensive dinners just so I can take my girlfriend there and buy her a ton of flowers. What can I do that's romantic, that's cost effective? I will tell you, one of the best things, and which most men don't do anymore, is create little private picnics. And I don't mean it has to be a picnic in the park or a picnic on the beach, just a nice romantic picnic. I specifically, my husband asked me, he goes, Sheila, what is it exactly you want for Valentine's Day? And I told him, to be honest with you, the thing that will make me the happiest is for us to put our kids to bed, and when I come downstairs, there's like a cute little blanket, a basket, bottle of wine or champagne, some strawberries, some cheese. We put on the TV, watch a movie, cuddle, and of course make love. And people think, that's all I want? Well, yeah, that's all I want. I wanted the attention and love that I need at that moment. And there are little small romantic things you can do within your own home for your significant other. It can be sitting on the rooftop of your balcony and just talking and drinking and enjoying each other's time, and that's more than enough. To me, I find that to be a lot better than jewelry and gifts and everything else. I can get that throughout the year, but Valentine's Day is about love, and I think women will remember the sweet touches to Valentine's Day way more than the gifts. The gifts, they're going to be like, oh, he got me this. But trust me, you do something very sweet and romantic, we're going to tell all our girlfriends, you will not believe how amazing our Valentine's Day was. And then every guy is going to be mad at you and saying, now you've raised up the bar. And in reality, you didn't really spend too much money. You didn't go and spend the entire evening in a restaurant full of a whole bunch of people and balloons and spending ridiculous amounts of money just so you can say I love you. It's the closer things to heart. I'm going to check to see if there's any more comments, so bear with me. Give me 1 second because my system's acting up. Mike, would it be showing up right here?
Yeah, it would be showing right there.
Okay, so there's no questions yet. So let's go to the next topic.
I'll tell him to ask a question again. Remind him with the Facebook.
Don't forget real quick that you can ask questions directly to me so that I can give you better guidance. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/moneylovesuccess.com. And I will be able to answer questions. I figured these Google Hangouts would let you do it right next to it, but unfortunately it's not. So, Mike, you're a single guy. I'm actually have Mike here because it makes it easy for me to do this, but I'm not going to show Mike's face because he's just going to answer some questions. What do you think is the hardest thing when a guy is trying to pick up a girl? Because I've been with you through a few of your relationships.
The hardest thing is just being too scared to go talk to the girls, being nervous.
What makes you nervous?
The girls.
The girls make you nervous?
Of course.
Okay.
I think most guys are shy and they're either too confident and go up and get shut down, or they're too scared and reluctant to go up.
I know you've dated some very beautiful women. Some of them have been my friends. What do you think opened up that door to pull that shyness that you typically have out?
Drinking.
Drinking?
Alcohol.
Alcohol. Well, you know what's funny? Alcohol does help me because I get very shy, and how alcohol has a tendency of livening me up a little bit more and getting me to the point where I can actually converse. And I don't think there's anything wrong to have a glass of alcohol. Please watch your liquor because some guys take that one glass, turn it into 6, and they just become belligerent.
Yeah, alcohol has also screwed up a lot of opportunities.
That's what I say.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 glass is fine to mellow you out. 5 glasses turns you into a jerk. So please watch that line between the two. You've been out with me and the girls, and you've seen how guys react to us when we're out. Without anyone putting, because I'm not guiding you on this, if in our group of girls, who do you think has been the easiest girls to confront where guys had a better chance with all the girls?
I don't think anybody was ever too like not approachable, but I think a lot of times most guys just haven't walked up. They're all standing on.
They're scared to talk to us.
I remember going to the rack. We had 3 or 4 girls at a pool hall, and nobody came up to you guys the whole night. But meanwhile, everybody was staring from a distance.
Which is the biggest problem when guys are picking up girls. If a group of girls are at a place, now the rack is a place in LA where it's pure on bar food, drinking beer, shooting pool, and listening to music and getting your groove on. Which means if a group of 4 or 5 girls are going out to hang out at this bar, it's definitely to get attention and to have men talk to them. And the entire time, Mike said we were at the rack, the guys were staring at us and they were too intimidated to come to the group and say anything. And that's something that makes, where in the book it talks about confronting the pack. You have to understand, when you have a group of girls, usually the prettier they are, the more lonely they are, because guys assume that they have boyfriends, that they're too difficult to pick up, and they don't give them a chance. And in reality, you probably have a better chance with someone that's pretty than with someone that's ugly, because someone that's ugly is going to be like, well, whatever, I'm here with my girls, leave me alone. Someone who's pretty gets a little bit of attention, a little bit. And I'm going to say that because if you give a woman too much attention, it just feels too easy, and then we easily get turned off. It would actually entice us to be next to you a little bit more. It would have actually been good if the guys would have just came up with us and said, hey, do you want to go and do guys versus girls in a pool hall, and the winners have to buy the other group drinks? Yeah. Because then you're not picking up the girls. You're not telling any of the girls that they're hot. You're not giving them attention. You're like, you know what? Let's make this a little game, a wager. Guys versus girls, pool hall. Let's see what happens. And what would happen is by the time that game was over, the chances are the girls would end up losing and the guys would probably end up buying the drinks anyway. But the guys would be like, you know what, we're going to be sports. You don't know how to play the game. We're just going to get you a drink. And it opens up the conversation where the girls are a little bit more comfortable because they just played a game for 10, 15 minutes. The guys didn't try to come on to them the entire time. So it's like, you know what, do you want to play another game? Because this was fun and now we're not bored. Would you think that would have been a good idea?
Yeah, and I've actually had a lot of guys come up to me like days later after times where I've been out with 2 or 3 girls at a time. And they were like, oh my God, those girls were with you and they were so beautiful. I was like, well, how come you guys didn't come over? Like, well, we were too scared to.
And the thing is, we always carry someone like Mike next to us because most people do get scared. And Mike, when we do go out with you, you're kind of our blocker. You're our protector. But you don't ever tell someone no because when a guy wants to talk to us, you actually let him enter the circle.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be the blocker. They just take me for a blocker.
But they always take you for the blocker because they see you with 4 or 5 pretty girls, so they assume that's the guy who's there to protect the girls, not realizing that that guy is merely our friend that we really like hanging out with, and he makes us feel safe, and we know that we're going to bring him out, and Mike is there for one purpose. We all get drunk and stupid, and we have no way of getting home unless Mike drives us back. So it's amazing because Mike doesn't really drink but a little bit, and we drink a lot, and he takes care of us at the end of the day, and some of them he has dated because they end up liking the idea that you're a protector a little bit. Doesn't last long because both of you get bored, but it is what it is. So guys always say, who are the hot girls? Well, guess what? Just because a guy is with us, it does not mean that you can't speak to the girls. Introduce yourself to the guy at the table and be like, hey, you know, what's up? What's the situation? So that way maybe he gives you some feedback on why he is with the girls, and then he might sit there and say, hey, Shy or Sophia or whoever it is he's talking to, why don't you meet this guy? He seems pretty cool. He just wanted to say hi. And typically that opens up the door for the guys to speak to us because we're not going to be rude, and our friend is introducing us to the guy, so we're going to be like, oh, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you. The only time we ever get very standoffish is when the guys are flirting way too much, getting way too hands-on, or telling us how they can go ahead and make our lives beautiful. We don't believe those stories. We don't believe the gimmicks. We're completely past that. The more the guys ignore us, I know I've always been attracted to the guys who don't want me. I know that's me, but you've seen our group of girls. Were all of them like that, would you say? Most of us were attracted to the guys that didn't want us?
Yeah, I think that's across the board in general, not just in the group. That happens all the time.
Yeah, we always want the guy that just doesn't think that we're hot enough because we're wondering what in the world are we doing wrong. So the biggest trick that I am going to give you when picking up women is do not want her, because the more you act like you do, the more she's not going to want you. The less you act like she's important, and the more you sit there and you act like you're God's gift to women in a respectable way, and that she should just be lucky to speak to you, that is better. What other advice you think is important for men to know? Because you're always around us girls.
Oh man, I wasn't really prepared for this, but
I know you weren't. That's why I'm throwing you last minute.
I think just don't be scared to go up to the pack of girls. I mean, obviously take your advice and work your way in. But
advice is, I'm usually the blocker, so I'm probably the first one you should go to because I stop every guy from getting into the touch the girls, and Mike will probably agree. I usually stop it cold because I don't want the girls to be bothered. Or go for the quiet girl. The spunky girl is usually taken. She's usually in a relationship, which is why she can be sexy but not too much. And to be honest, the hot girl is usually the sluttiest one of the group, and she's just trying to get your attention to get the free alcohol, the booze, and the compliments to basically make her ego feel better. And then once her ego is pretty much here in her head is this big, she goes and says, thank you, have a nice day. You don't get her number, you don't get her attention, but you spent your money on her. So really learning how each person in a group works and knowing which way to penetrate that group is the most important. I'm going to see if there's any questions, so bear with me.
Yeah, a couple more people just joined if you want to say it again.
So I know a few more people just joined right now. If you have any questions, again, go to facebook.com/moneylovesuccess.com, C-O-M right after.
They're being scared just like the guys at the bar. Not put any questions.
And the thing is, I'm going to advise you while you have me here during this time not to be afraid to ask me questions. I am very blunt and I'm very, very straightforward. So if there's a tactic or something that I can advise you to so you can get that girl that you want, please put it out there, because if I don't know the questions, I can't really help. I have one guy who has mentioned that he has a coworker that, you know, keeps flirting with him, but he knows the coworker has a boyfriend and he doesn't know what to do. My response is, I don't believe in cheating, but if she's flirting, that means she's intrigued by something else that you're offering. So I would say, don't ignore it. Flirt with her. Don't take it to the next level yet. And most importantly, don't go and pay a lot of attention to her, because the chances are is you're probably giving her a little nudge, giving her a little looks that makes her feel like you're attracted to her, and then you're pushing back, and that's what's attracting her to you even more. But I would definitely, if she's still wanting to be with you, my advice is to go to lunch with her, have a conversation, especially if she has a boyfriend, and figure out why she wants more attention from you than someone else, and never fully give your 100% attention, because chances are she's doing this to the boyfriend, she's going to do it to you in a matter of time. Let's see, there's a few more. Let me see if there's any questions here. Okay, so there's no questions yet. You know, I'm going to go back to Vegas for a minute, and the reason why I'm giving you more examples and going completely in depth in the book is because I think that the book is extremely helpful to someone who would actually read it from beginning to end to understand the aspect of how a woman's mindset is and how our insecurities work and how to use those manipulation tactics to go after our insecurities to basically land the woman that you want. So I was in Vegas with a couple of my business partners, and it was funny because we're sitting at a bar and we're having cocktails, and a couple of girls, of course, you know, they're the ones being very flirtatious with my friends, and my guys go and say, oh my God, I've never seen such desperate women in my entire life. This is ridiculous. What's funny is one of the friends basically goes and says, I don't care, she's desperate, that means I'm going to get a guarantee lay right now. And the other one said, well, she seems a little bit too desperate, I'd rather just find someone that's a little bit harder to get. Which is so funny, because now you have two men both having the same scenarios with them, with, you know, the girls in the group, and one is saying, I don't care, I'm going to go and sleep with her, and the other one is saying, no, that's too needy. And the reason why is the one that says she's too needy, he wanted to have that game, he wanted to have that fight. For him, it was more of an enticement of getting the girl that everybody wants that nobody can't get, and that was what's enticing him to go after a different girl. The other one goes, why am I going to try to even pick up a girl when I have a guarantee here? Have you ever had it where you had the girls go up to you and be a little bit too needy and too pushy? And
yeah, sometimes they're too needy and too pushy and too clingy.
What do you do in those circumstances? Do you sleep with her, or do you kick her to the curb?
No, that's going to be a definite problem if she seems too needy, especially right from the start when you're first meeting her.
So you push her away, and unless she's really hot, and then you sleep with her?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying this is women are the exact same way. We go into a bar, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I'm drinking with the guys, and everybody knows that I'm not with these guys. They can see that it's a business meeting and everything else, and they're basically coming up to me and just saying hello respectably. And what's funny is I'm married, so I use these tactics and these chances to come up with ideas for my books that I write. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? All these guys keep coming up to me, and I'm not intrigued by any of them. They're giving me way too much attention. And then I find that there's like one or two guys that are just bluntly ignoring me, like I don't matter. And it makes me wonder why. And I actually confronted those guys while I was in Vegas, and I was like, just out of curiosity, you know, there's quite a few girls here that are beautiful. and I'm noticing that you're not speaking to any of them, including myself, and I just want to know why. And what's funny is I wasn't the only girl thinking that. We were all thinking that. We were all like wondering if they were gay or what the situation was. And the guys went to us and said, you know what, if a girl's interested, she'll give us that look, and then we'll maybe consider having a conversation, but we just don't want to throw ourselves on every little girl and just look desperate. And what's funny is every girl was looking at these guys because they were wondering, why in the world are they not paying attention to the group of girls that are at this bar instead of just talking to us like every other guy is? And at the end, they actually ended up talking to more of the girls in our little group than anyone else, which is why I'm going to tell you that it is extremely, extremely important when you're going to these environments to not be needy, not to consistently throw yourselves at these girls. And guys think that one of the little tricks of the trade is to go up to a girl and say, hey, do you want me to buy you a drink? Of course she wants you to buy her a drink. And then as soon as you buy her the drink, she's going to ignore you. The idea is not to ask her to buy a drink. The idea is to push her to the side and say, hey, do you mind if I just get in here and order my drink? And basically don't really pay attention to her. And then she's going to wonder why you're not paying attention to her. And then when she gives you that turn, that look, you sit there and say, oh, hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. Give her the name and walk away. Because she's going to wonder, I gave you the opportunity to speak to me. I gave you my name. I shook your hand. And now you're walking away. Why? And the reason why they do that, it's important to do that, is because if you walk away, it's going to make a girl wonder what is not good enough about her to want you. So she's going to, again, attempt to get that conversation and find her way to be able to weasel her into where you're sitting so that she can get more out of you. So again, I'm going to say, if you have any questions, don't forget, you can go to facebook.com/moneylovesuccesscom if you have any questions regarding the topics that I'm speaking about. So we're almost close to our ending, almost, I think. Mike, what would you say if you had someone guiding you the whole way through on a relationship? What do you wish a woman would guide you through on?
Well, actually, now that I've read your book, I don't have any questions. But before reading the book, it would have been more approaching that group.
Approaching group.
Yeah,
You think the hardest thing for someone is to approach a group?
Either approach a group or just approaching the girl that's attracting you at the bar.
I think that bar setting sometimes can be a little bit intimidating, and where most people think that that's the easiest place to pick up a girl, I think that's probably one of the hardest places to pick up a girl.
Yeah. Except when I'm out grocery shopping, I'm usually not thinking about picking up a girl. That's usually like the place you go.
But you know what though? You know how grocery shopping helps, and let me explain this. I remember going to a grocery store, and I'm in a grocery store like every 3-4 days. I kind of live in a grocery store. But I'm in a grocery store, and there's a guy walking through, and I love to bake. It's one of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm stressed out. So I'm getting all my baking goods, and the guy is completely confused and has no idea what he's doing, but he's in the baking section. And the guy goes to me and says, I'm sorry to bother you, but my niece is having this little cupcake drive, and my sister can't make her the cupcakes, so she asked me to go and do this for her so that she would have cupcakes for her little drive that she's doing. I thought it was the absolute cutest thing in the world. Now I found out, now I know that was kind of a pickup line, which is kind of funny, but it made me feel so gooey in the inside and feel so much like love for this guy that he would be doing this for his sister's little girl, that I sat there and I helped him pick out the things that he needed to do so that he could bake these perfect cupcakes and everything else. And I wished him luck, and I asked him where this cupcake drive was going to be at, and he told me some school, I can't remember where it was at, and everything else. But he wasn't really the one baking a cake, I found out later. He was just buying the ingredients for his sister to make it. But he was basically using it as a pickup tool to get me to give him attention. And I did. And I actually ended up going to the cupcake drive to go and see what was going on and buy some cupcakes, because I thought it was so sweet that this guy did this for his niece. And then I get there and I'm talking to a sister, and she's like, no, I just sent them to the store to go buy the stuff so that I can do it. And by then, I was already there, so I might as well just talk to the guy and just see what happens. And I tell you, it was one of the best pickups I think I've ever did, and I didn't even know how to react. Because what do you do once you're in a school and you're already there and you're like, I'm going to go buy some cupcakes?
You're stuck.
You're stuck. So those are little tricks. Grocery stores are very important. Do not go into the freezer aisle, guys, and think that you're just going to go and look at women with their nipples hard. That's not going to work. That's just kind of creepy and gross. One of the things you can do is go more into the produce aisles and ask someone, listen, I'm trying to get a little bit healthier, especially since a lot of us are into this gluten-free, juicing, whatever diet. And say, I'm just trying to figure out how do you pick the right fruit. And a girl might sit there and say, I don't know, which might lead into a conversation. Or sit there and say, oh, I do this all the time, and this is what you need to do. And she'll give you the step-by-steps of how to buy produce. Next thing you know, you have the girl's number. I think grocery stores are some of the best places. I think movie theaters are a great place to pick up because usually movie theaters are couples on a date or girlfriends and guy friends going out as a group to go and see a movie. There's this amazing movie theater that is in, actually they have 2 locations in LA where when you go to the movies, you can go and rent these chairs and there's full-on alcohol and you can sit there with a little blanket and they bring you all your food to your little table while you're watching a movie. The best part of that is you can always see that it's a group of girls and a group of guys. And before the movie starts, you're already having, you know, your little drinks and your cocktails. And it's a perfect way to start a conversation. It's like, oh my God, did you hear about this movie? It's supposed to be amazing, and discussing the movie. And then by the time the movie's done, you guys can discuss the topics of what happened in the movie. I go to these events, and I will tell you, there is not one time in the world where it doesn't become a conversation about the movie, especially since drinks are involved, and it's like a little private area. And it's not that much more expensive than watching a normal movie. Have you even tried that before?
No, usually if I'm going to the movie, I'm going with a date.
You're usually going with a date? I go to movies alone a lot. So I think that's probably why I like those type of environments. So we have movies, we have grocery stores. Charity events are really, really a great place to pick up women because they have their guards down. They don't really know if you're there to give to a charity or not. And you don't have to give anything to a charity. A lot of these events are open to the public and have like little $20, $30 fees to get in. And you're walking around an art gallery or a wine tasting or whatever it might be. And you can make it seem like you're there giving to an important cause and explaining why you care about the cause so much. And in reality, you're there to pick up women, and only women, and you're using the cause as a reason to start a conversation. It's a way of manipulation. It's making it seem like you don't really want her, and then that's going to entice her to come back to you. There's other different places to pick up women, but I want to see if there's any questions. Nope, there's still no questions. So I am going to be leaving soon, but I just want to make sure. I will be doing these Google Hangouts once a month, and every time it's going to be a different topic. The next one, I'm actually probably going to bring along a couple of friends, girls that are going to be able to give you a couple of their tricks of how to manipulate them so you get more enticed. Basically, where you can entice a woman to want you more, which I think is going to be important. Everyone is going to be different from another. I also have the following month, which is going to be more like a he said, she said. I want someone who's also in the dating business and relationship business to call me on my bullshit and tell me why they think my theories won't work so that you can hear perspective from both man and woman. So I hope you look forward to looking at my future Google Hangouts. But you can also go to moneylovesuccess.com.
Something a private message. They want to keep it more confidential.
You can what?
They can private message you the questions on your Facebook page.
Oh, you can private message me the questions on my Facebook page if you do have questions but don't want anyone to know who you are, keep it more confidential. I have no problem with answering questions that way. So you can go my Facebook page. You can do privately either through Shy Love or through that Money Love Success com as well. Go and look up moneylovesuccess.com. The book is amazing. On top of having the book, I actually do live seminars across the country. I do have one coming up for LA, New York, and Miami. So just because you're far away does not mean you can't participate. And just in case for those guys who can't participate, I do have a video available of a full 3-hour seminar that I did live with conjunction with having a couple of girls there, so that the guys can actually interact with women and feel more comfortable by the time the seminar is done. So my seminars do have women there. The only way you're going to learn is through practice. Other than that, you can email me as well on info@moneylovesuccess.com. And the books are available on Amazon.com right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I look forward to hearing some questions from you via my private messenger, since some of you are a little shy to basically put it out in the open right now. So have a good night.
Stop broadcast.